Hello YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. I had a hard time uploading my routine video, and so I wanted to tape just a little intro that I'm going to slap in front of the second part of my school routines, the things that help me to kind of stay on top of things at school. I will do, when I say check my weekly plan, on during special time, that's where I'm going to do this little list up here that's by day. And I will say, after I've checked my email and I've pulled up reading, if I have any extra time there, that's when I'll do things that are on my list up at the top. And also after school, if I happen to have an extra 15-30 minutes, I might work on something that needs to be done that's coming up, or something that needed to be done that day. Kind of just depends on the day. And if you've ever been in an elementary classroom, you can plan, but you can also plan for there to be changes. And so I kind of have to be flexible about that. But on Monday, I check the whole week for appointments. I have a calendar that I use, my home calendar, and then I have one at school, and I make sure that those dates get put in my planner, for my lesson plans. And I also make sure that I will jot things down here in a expo marker or a vis-a-vis, so that if I know I have a staff meeting here, I'll write staff meeting here just with a vis-a-vis. So anything that's coming up, I do put it on this because I look at this every day multiple times. Prioritize goals and to-do lists. And that's where, this is actually from the last couple weeks, when I needed to get routines done and field trip packets. And so almost always number one is routines, but sometimes there'll be stuff coming up that's not necessarily on the agenda, like getting field trip packets together. Another example would be, we have parent information night coming up. So that's going to make the priority goals for that week, to make sure I'm all prepped and ready for that. Another goal that might come up would be if we were having parent-teacher conferences, and I would need to get materials ready for that. Those types of items are what will make the list. If I have a student meeting coming up and I need to make sure that I'm well prepared for that, I might write that down on my priority list, and then if time comes about, then I could kind of make sure that I'm attending to these things throughout the week. During specials time is when homework for the next week would happen. We do a homework packet. As of right now, we do a homework packet in second grade. We all work together to put that together. So on Mondays, we try to spend a portion of the specials time making sure that the homework's ready and we get it started copying so it's ready for the following week. And I also grade and record any papers. If I can get to them during the day, I will totally look over them, and write down a score, record that in my grading book. But often I can't, and so, but I do try to, anytime during the day that I have extra time, I try to make sure I'm attending to grading, because that's a killer too. On Tuesdays, I used to do the overview for the week. That's how I started it, but I moved that over to Wednesday, because what we found out was it was really helpful to first think about the reading plans and social science plans. And we do those together as a grade level, which is delightful. And so if we have typed out reading plans for like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and we have typed out social studies plans, and we've kind of looked over those together and made sure we've made any corrections and any updates that we need to make. That took our time, and that really was the bulk of getting that overview for the week done. So we started trying to attempt to do reading plans and make sure we had a test for the following week, and social science plans for the following week. And by social science, I just mean either social studies or science, whichever our focus was for that week. I also graded and recorded papers during that time, and I also had, just because I think it's good practice, and there's so many people in our school that do such a good job. What I try to do is to write a happy note to a staff member once a week, and I I think it's a God thing, kind of who I write to. So if somebody's really on my heart, I'll do that. I do kind of throughout the year make little check marks on my phone tree, or like the phone list, who I've sent a note to and who I haven't. But there are times where, you know, if somebody's really on my mind, I might send it to them even if I've already sent them a note. But that's just one way to try to be professional and positive in our school. Wednesday is when I do an overview for the week. And that's really that 2-page spread that my lesson plans are written on so that I know what I'm doing for the next week. So that's kind of like the overview for the week is like the planning page. MTSS is, I think other people call it RTI, but it's anybody that is struggling in either reading or math may well be pulled into an MTSS group. And if I have, depending on who I have in my class, that changes per year, per class, but there's usually preparation that needs to be done. I need to make sure that the following week's materials are prepped for those groups. I grade and record any papers as well. And that's usually, whoops, sorry about that. That's usually all the time that I have. On Thursday, I grade spelling tests. I gather supplies for the next week. These 2 days were really my planning days for the following week. So if I know that these are my planning days, then this is really when I gather supplies. Now I work with awesome gals that sometimes do copying for us. So sometimes there's not much to do. Other times there's quite a bit. So we just kind of have to, we take care of each other, and I just try to make sure that we get that done on Thursday. I also do small group plans for the next week. Like I said, some of those are typed up, some of those aren't, and so I have to kind of weed through, make sure I've got books for all my groups, make sure I've got a plan for math groups for this next year, and then I also grade and record any papers that I haven't gotten to throughout the year, or throughout the day, sorry. And then finally, on Friday, my weekly list is make sure the newsletter's done. I make sure it's written and then also copied and emailed. Sometimes I have families that don't have an active email, but most of the time we send those through email. I also have newsletters from the year before that I tweak and change, so that's not a huge time-consuming thing. If I was a brand new teacher, that would be more time-consuming than I could do in like 15 minutes, but as it is, that's pretty manageable. I finished gathering any supplies for the next week. So between these 2 days, I want to make sure that I've got supplies ready and in my buckets for the following week. And then I do a classroom blessing, and that's just like general picking up. Make sure it looks nice. I do the same thing for my desk. I make sure the back table has been wiped down with like a Clorox wipe so that all those shared germs are getting wiped away. I try to wipe the on and off switches for the lights and the doorknobs, those kinds of things. I try to hit those highly touched areas because we are germy little people sometimes. And then in spelling, it's time for, we do a spelling pre-test on Friday. And so I make sure that the new lists are out. I have a big spelling list that I keep in a pocket chart, and then small ones that are copied, these little slips of paper that get taped on kids' desks. And some of these are items kids can do. A lot of them are items that I do, but some of them I do like dole out to kids when I need a helping hand. And then I've also added a grade SMAD and pull the next week's and any new practice test. So I make sure that the next week's paper pencil tests are pulled. They'll take it during the day, I'll grade it during the day, and then I make sure we're ready for the next week. And between this time here before school and this hour of specials time and time after school, my goal is to, by the end of each day, have this list done. And if this portion is done every day, then I go into the next week with all my materials gathered, and all of my planning is done, and all of my grading is done. Now, occasionally I take something home. I try really hard not to do I'm going to throw so much in my bag that I never even open it up, and I just haul it back the next day. I really do try. If I bring something home, it's something specific, and I get it done, and it is done. If I follow my routines that are on this paper, my life is in pretty good order. It doesn't always work that way. Life happens sometimes, but the good part is if I'm behind, I can just say, okay, I just need to get started on my routines. And even if it's Wednesday and I really haven't even attended much, I don't have homework done, I know, okay, let's get this done, and then let's go ahead and start working on Tuesday's stuff and get caught up. And I have a plan for getting caught up. So hopefully this was helpful and helps you organize your school life. Have a great day.